Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is a recording for the second pathology lab for the neuroscience number 2. And this will be included in the final exam. ما راح يدخل بالمد. هذا اللاب راح يدخل بالفاينل. So the first picture is a picture of a brain that is abnormal. What is abnormal in this brain? صار في widening of the gyri of the sulci and the tapering of the gyri. صاروا الجيري شوي مدببين أو حادين. And this is, the appearance is consistent with brain atrophy. Brain atrophy, diffuse brain atrophy, especially that affects the frontal area بالبداية والfrontal temporal area عشان هيك تعمل memory loss بالبداية. بعدين it involves in severe cases زي هاي cases involves the whole brain. Usually the occipital lobe is the least affected, but the brain is diffusely atrophic. This is a characteristic finding of Alzheimer's disease. And we see this abnormality in Alzheimer's disease. In this picture, there are structures which are stained by silver stain. Silver stain is a stain that stains structures in red and black color. زي basement membrane, زي blood vessels, زي أي other structures زي مثلا الفنجاي تصبغهم أسود. One of the things that silver stain is used for is these plaques. دول البلاكس اللي هم سميناهم الأميلويد plaques عبارة عن center or core of abnormal amyloid deposition surrounded by هدول الفبرils اللي حواليها are dystrophic neurites. عبارة عن neurites ميتة يعني neurites. dystrophic neurites حوالين الأميلويد اللي إيش بنسميه the whole structure is an amyloid plaque. Disease that is characterized by the presence of these structures هو Alzheimer's disease. In this section, this is stain for Cone-Gored stain, and Cone-Gored stain is used for the staining of amyloid. And as you can see, between the cells, outside the cells, في deposition of amyloid اللي هم الاميلويد plaques. In addition, في عندي deposition of amyloid على the walls of the blood vessel. هاي الدائرة عبارة عن blood vessel والamyloid deposited على wall of the blood vessel. زي ما حكينا, this happens in persons with Alzheimer's disease. يصير في deposition of amyloid على شكل amyloid plaques and the walls of the blood vessels. Alzheimer's disease. Another feature of Alzheimer's disease is the presence of neurofibrillary tangles. اللي حكينا بصير فيها abnormal deposition of tau protein inside the cell membranes or inside the cell cytoplasm. So this is a neurofibrillary tangle in the cytoplasm of this neuron. وحكينا neurofibrillary tangles are not specific for Alzheimer's disease, but they correlate better with the level of dementia. كل ما زادوا tangles كل ما كانت الدمنشيا أسوأ. This is another picture of person with Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease إيش بصير في عندهم؟ بصير في loss of the pigmented neurons in the substantia nigra. This is the normal. شايفين pigment is maintained. هذا اللون البني. The person with Parkinson's disease شايفين صار في loss of pigment in this area due to death of these pigmented neurons. Another picture of Parkinson's disease كمان. This is the normal. شايفين how much there are pigmented neurons. كل هدول اللي جواهم بني are neurons that that contains pigment. Compare, this is the brain of a person with Parkinson's disease. ما في pigmented neurons كتير. Another degenerative disease is the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. وحكينا تسمية بتشرح المرض. So amyotrophic means إنه بصير في عندي muscle atrophy. Lateral sclerosis because it affects the the spinal cord, the lateral, loss of anterior horn cells, anterior ventral spinal cord roots on the lateral aspects of the spinal cord. So this is the normal. شايفين هون النورمال how much these are thick neurons. الناس اللي عندهم amyotrophic lateral sclerosis عندهم very thin nerves and nerve roots. And it targets motor nerve roots عشان هيك present mainly with motor symptoms. بصير في عندهم paralysis، بصير في عندهم يعني this disease is progressive، ببلش paralysis بعدين أو lower limb paralysis بعدين upper limb paralysis بعدين they lose their ability to even if it affects the respiratory muscle they might die because of they might stop breathing. Okay, so the affected areas اللي صاروا sclerotic are these areas شايفينهم. Sclerotic صار شوي لونهم white in color, and these are the affected areas by amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Excuse me. This is the characteristic appearance of Huntington's disease. Huntington's disease targets these areas of the brain around the ventricle, results in loss of neurons in these areas. شايفين في loss of neurons in this area بالناس اللي عندهم Huntington's disease due to accumulation of abnormal protein product نسميه huntingtin. This is caused by repeated CAG إذا بتتذكروا increase in the number of CAG repeats. If you pay attention, there is a block of demyelination, a big area of demyelination in this brain, and these plaques are typical of multiple sclerosis. يصير في عندهم loss of the myelin in the central nervous system. Okay, this is the cerebellum, and the cerebellum appears atrophic. في atrophy of the cerebellar vermis, the cerebellar tissues, mainly affecting the superior anterior parts, mainly the superior anterior parts. And this is caused by chronic alcoholism. If you remember حكينا chronic alcoholism بيعمل لي central pontile myelolysis، بيعمل cerebellar atrophy، وبيعمل mammillary body hemorrhages. شايفين كيف؟ عندي mammillary body hemorrhage due to chronic alcoholism. So seen here are characteristic for chronic alcoholic أو alcoholism alcohol related brain disease. And that's it. Thank you very much.